Hey everyone, this is Dutch. How are you guys doing today? Let's get a little music going on here real quick. I'm sorry if I've got this weird look. It's been a long time since I streamed and haven't quite gotten the new setup yet. All right, got some music going. And I'm sorry if I keep looking up. I'm gonna try to get that taken care of, changed. But what we're gonna do today is I'm coloring issues of the Wayfarer second issue for my second Kickstarter. The pre-launch was supposed to happen already. I'm kind of dumbfounded by it, but it's going to still happen probably by the end of this week, which more likely Saturday. And we do a third day pre-launch, looking to get 75 backers, early backers. And once it goes live, we're going to have some great things in store. I've got some great artists set up. Another one covered by Shelby Robertson, Krista Crawford. Tapped Andy Perez to help with a cover variant, as well as my buddy Tone Rodriguez. So right now I'm just still finalizing character design sheets, getting ready to get that sent out to them. Probably be this weekend as well, and create some videos well on top of it. But I was just thinking about my process coloring, and while I'm doing this, so I thought I'd just show you some up-to-date background scenes of the comic and how I color in Clip Studio Paint and how it differs from Photoshop. So let me get my screen sharing, and I apologize if I'm looking away. And hoping I get the right image. So you're gonna see my really cluttered background. And I think I'm going to unfortunately, can't have your stylus and mouse there at the same time. So let's see if we stop and the camera does. There we go. So I'm hoping everybody can still hear me. Unmute. So what we're at is page 19 of my second issue of the comic. I've already started to do a lot of coloring updates in the comic. And how I have the file set up originally, because this is the Webtoon version. The Webtoon version came with just some simple cell shading and not much else, because again, it's for computer, so kept it in RGB. And for the print version, I want to knock it up a bit, make it look nicer and have it all, more bang for your buck. So I've got my flats layer, and the one thing I usually do is I will duplicate my flash layer. So that way, in case there's anything wrong with the flats, if I merge these all down, I have a layer that I can activate by clicking on the eye icon and allowing them with my wand. I can then come in and select. Now, right now I have my wand set to reference a layer, which is what's going on here. And what that does is anytime I make a selection with that, it's going to go into that area and look at this layer, not this one here or this one, but this one, and see what's there and what needs to be filled. So let's go back. It's probably this one I need. No, it's this one here. Oh, that's right. That layer is just already a copy of this, but here's a good example. So if I needed to go back and I made any adjustments to this, I can come back to my rendered flat layer, put a new color in, and then recolor it as necessary or render it. So I'll turn that off. Next, I've got a multiply layer where I've added all my shadows. And this differs from my process with doing it the high-five method, where you would isolate the color from the flat. So for example, Amya's blue shirt here, I would isolate that. and then make all the renders. Usually set it to whatever local color, and then paint in using a screen brush light and lighten up those areas. But in this case, we're just doing it to multiply. And this is a method I like, and I've picked up from other colorists, especially Color by Kurt. And I'll tap one of his videos here as well for you to follow. Very insightful, really helped me with the process, because one of the things I have some struggles with the coloring in Photoshop is I have to then go back in and add in an overpaint layer things like ambient occlusion and some other gradients. So here I can do that right now, and my next layer then is a hard light I've liked in this, where it punches up those values in color. So oftentimes I'm not painting with a screen brush anymore. I'm choosing the color I want and then dropping those in there and giving a nice highlight to it. My screen layer then is to add in a bit more brightness in there, more light if necessary, typically with the metals and other things I'm looking to highlight. One thing that differed is before I had on this comic for the Webtoon was giving this value, to match the first issue, because in that one she was in a desert. But I decided, because now they're in a new location, new city of Jubok, that we don't need to do that anymore. So I've changed that, which then meant I had to go back now and readjust all the colors for the characters, give them more the local color, and then punch up. And after that, and I usually label these. Anybody who's I've ever flatted for in the past here, or currently flatting, you'll often get a line art layer. Then I have a screen layer above the line art. Usually, though, I would have another layer here where I'd clip it down, and this is where I would do my color holds. A color hold is basically changing the color of something, say, and this either receding it in the background. For example, if I wanted to push this building out into the background more, I could, it's going to, so it's quick mask. So I'm going to grab a brush. I'll grab my actually normal brush. So with Clip, you actually have a new feature where you can start using Photoshop brushes. And it's been a game changer. And I keep making new adjustments to the program every time, which is fantastic, because when it first started, you couldn't do a lot of major changes to the brush came over different, I should say. So if you had it set up in one way in Photoshop and it came over into Clip, you might have had to make some adjustments to it. I found that with a lot of the stone brushes, or with some of my other favorite brushes, as you see, I'm using my Hi-Fi default round brush, which I really love. It's different than the normal Photoshop round brush. It's got a bit more softness and texture to it. So I didn't have to really adjust that, but for some of these other ones, I did have to go in and adjust them. Some just don't work like they do in Photoshop, and I'd have to go back in and make some tweaks still, some more. But what I did is I used a quick mask, which I've loved using ever since I finally understood how that worked coloring. And making the selection here, go ahead and my color hold a little darker. I'm just going to play with this. I can fill in paint, and what it does is, if I had the lines here, colors the line, that color I've chosen, and kind of pushes it back. And if there's areas where I don't want, I can come back in and just erase away. We use a transparent brush. Make this come out a little blacker. Or if I need to, like I can see here, I can come back in, just lightly brush in. So now that makes the tentacle pop out more. And now you're getting a little bit of a spoiler, sort of. If you back the first issue of the Kickstarter, you do see Ollie here with his full tentacle arms going. So one of the things that really worked for the Webtoon version was making this metallic color here. Really with the half tones, really gave that anime halftone dot effect, but I'm now coming to grips that it's not actually working well with the new version updated. So I'm gonna have to go back in and make those changes. So let's go back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my lasso. And again, as I've always said before with this, once clip makes their magnetic this lasso go from a free form to a magnetic, rather than having me set here to add selection as it is. That's what the little plus is. Once that happens, it's game changer. Done. Photoshop is over. I'm sorry. The only reason why I use Photoshop is for work, and once they figure out how to use this full time for coloring and get the same effects that we do with flatting in Photoshop, we are done. I'm done. I would like to end my subscription with them. All right, so I'm going to do Option G, which hides. It's a shortcut I've set up to hide my marching ants. I'm going to paint in. Sometimes happens. I do have to set up some shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts. So I'm just brushing in, painting in lightly. Okay. So the highlight, because I want to show him menace, so the lighting's coming from behind, above Amiya, but I also want to show him that something's happening. So he's getting a lot of bounce lighting coming up. So that was the first pass, and then we're going to come back in and do our second cut. So I've already started to put some shadows in here as well. So I'm going to select my wand, come down to the multiply layer without selecting it, and hold down Command and Option. I'm sorry, this is on a Mac. And double click on the thumbnail icon here. And that should hopefully, if I have anything highlighted in here, will deselect that area. So it doesn't look like I do. I'll come back here, let's lighten this up a bit. And I'm going to hide again. Just paint in just a bit more lighting. I'm not going to give too many cut and grads here because it's got kind of a corduroy pants-ish. So I have to think of the material. It's not going to be highly reflective, shiny. Just enough light. Now we're going to do the same thing for his boots. And yeah, the anatomy here, I apologize, it's driving me nuts. There's so many things I want to redo in this comic as I'm seeing it. So might happen, as I've mentioned before, if I, because this issue plus the third are all a continuing series, I can wrap them together, put them as a graphic novel, add some director's cuts in there, how I meant for these scenes to look, and do some improvements, basically. So I like the soft brush a lot. So yeah, like this is the anatomy. This is, sometimes you just have to get the work done. This is when I was trying to meet a deadline for Webtoons, to produce something every week. So sometimes you just have to just do it. It's not going to turn out perfect. Now, not to say that I haven't come into this comic and made some changes, but there's some that I could just, if I did, I would spend too much time on this and redo. It would push out my date. And I want to have the first issues ready for Phoenix Fan Fusion coming up here, Memorial Day weekend. And that is May 27th to the 29th. I was supposed to be guested back in 2020 when the pandemic, before we knew the pandemic happening. And now I'll be back. I do have a table. I don't know if I'm a guest in a sense, or if they're just having me down as an industry pro and what that means versus a guest, but we'll find out. But I do hope to have the second issue on hand, at least, small batch. I do have the Webtoon version of both the first and second issue available. So if you want to grab those there, you'll see the difference between the two. And so I'm just coming in and making some selections, choosing the color, shift the hue a bit, hide. I slowly just paint in. We'll go for Ami here. Yeah, some of this, like I said, the artwork just needs to be redone. But to be honest with you, when I did the Wayfarer back in, I think, 2016, the first issue, it did come out 2 years later, this issue. And by that time, anatomy, knowledge, drawing habits changed. So same thing's occurring with the new issues as well. You're going to see that it's far superior, and that I've grown, which is what I want to show and showcase. Let's see, I'm going to pick up. There's major. Trying to think of some anatomy. So I've got a flat lasso set up, and it's got selection for adding. Anti-alias is off as much as it can be. I do have it enabled to snapping if I had a grid up, but in this case I don't. And adjust by speed, I just move fast. So let's come in here, choose a color, adjust a bit. I'm going towards the red since, again, you're in a reddish, not going to go too far, and then adjust. Still my hard light. One thing I love doing is with this quick mask, and I learned this from Adam Hughes. Patreon. And then I reread the Hi-Fi book again, and I'm like, oh, that's what Brian was talking about. Brian Miller, who's the creator of Hi-Fi color and comics design, whom I do some work for, had mentioned this in his book, and I never quite understood what he was talking about with the quick mask, why it was needed. Now I fully do. And what I'm doing is, as you can see, it's not really as solid as this. It's kind of light. And it's adding just a little bit of softness to these areas. We'll get our lats in here. This elbow. Let's see. We got the light. Let's say we're coming from above, so or below her. Yep. And what you can see from my original selection, now it's going to expand out. When you do this in Photoshop, it gives a bit of a feathering effect, and it does a little bit here as well. And I just hide. This is how it looks painting it in. Just bring it up. And then if I want to, I'm going to come back in with my eraser here and just kind of smooth out those little areas so they don't have such harsh lines. Back, make another selection. Yeah. I just realized I colored the top here rather than underneath. So I'll make some changes. I can erase away that top area. And one thing I don't like with Clip is the bar. I do like this bar, but if you make a selection, as you saw, it covers it up. And then if you accidentally hit one of these, you'll, like I usually do, which is I hit the crop. Which one is it? I could probably just remove it. It's this one. I always hit this one, and it then will start to crop everything. And it's such a long time until you get it. You can hit undo. All right. Bring too much light in here. Brush size a bit. And if it's too much, as I'm seeing now, back in and tap it down just a bit with the brush setting. Still using soft round. And my soft round has got locked, so it automatically resets itself back. And I'm probably going to have to make a duplicate of this that I can then use and create a quick access, put under this rendering so I can quickly make adjustments to it. But it's just kind of just tapping in. It's at 100%, so if I reduce that down, it'll still keep some of the shine, but now it won't be as, won't remove it all. I'll get this little gradient that I want. Zoom out. All right, now we'll tackle that rock here. So I'm sorry if I'm not talking. I'm just trying to think of how this is going to look. And if I hit down my option on my Mac, I can then start to cut away remove some areas. Let's see what this looks like. So you see it, my brush went right back up to 100%. Reduce it down. Just gonna tap in a little light. So that looks. And then I'm gonna change to, where is it? My stone spatter. See if this makes a little bit of a difference. Oh, that's texture one. That's too much. There we go. This is a little nicer. If I don't press too hard, so I'm gonna have to reduce the opacity of that a bit. While I still having them come back over here, I'll make it a little darker. Paint some of that back in. There you go. Yeah, I'm not quite feeling that. If you come back here, I can then my wand double tap into the hard light layer. Now let's the areas where it had light. And I can come back in and brush. Now paint in just a little bit darker areas I want. Decide, do I like that or not? So I'm not. All right. It's a bit too shiny for me. So I might come back down here, select, come back over to my hard light layer, try to find a brush that I like. That's the issue when you have too many of these brushes. I'm just coming in, deselecting this area. I don't want this face to be colored, nor any of these others. Yeah, kind of liking that. What that looks like. Oh, there we go. That's making it look a little nicer for me. I'll have to remember this brush. That gives me the texture I want. So I should be able to now select this side. Let's give this a shot. There, now that looks a little textury. And one thing I need to try, and this is something I see Brian Miller doing a lot, using a pencil. I don't do that enough. Just trying different things. So all right, I think that gives me a little bit of a look. I'm trying to direct your eye towards Ollie as he's jumping up. And there's a reason for his stereotypical name and how he's dressed. That will be covered later in the book. Not this book, but in the series, as well as when I finally get Demon Hunter Jose up and finally running. Let's grab my default rough. Oh, wrong thing. Come back to my hard light. I'm just gonna see how that looks, penciling it in. Yeah, so unfortunately, a lot of the screen tones have been kind of baked in to the artwork, the line art. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get rid of that, or just try to figure out how to lighten it up just a bit. Since this issue's already been colored, I haven't really been thinking about themes either. And one thing I'll have to do going forward is making selections to. So it's got a color complementary scheme, using 3 colors. For example, something that's going to be 60% of the color, 30%, and then the other 10 is highlight. So if I chose, for example, a grayish background, I could have pushed Ollie's color to grayish, brown. It's still the blue, so that'll be the bright, and then a complementary color of orange. So we're still in the or a brown or maybe a red, just to make it pop somewhere in here. Let's see. So we've got her colors, this blue. Complementary would be the orange, so it'd still be, all these browns would be perfectly fine, but then a tertiary color, a little bit of purple or grayish purple. This would be probably the 10% would be his tentacles. Push this rock more towards that gray as well. basically doing what, everybody does in movies. Okay, so I'll make the selection. And I'm going to come with my marquee, and we're going to see what I can cut off here. So I want to push him further into darkness. This actually was a separate color I flatted. There you go. So let's hide that. Let's go back to my multiply layer. Oh. Actually, I kept it on there, but it's actually not giving a nice little texture, which is not my desired effect, but it's actually making this kind of pop. I'm kind of overdoing it a bit. Looks like the hard light. It's too hard. That's too much. Let's see. Slow it down just a bit. See what it looks like. Oh, nice. Trying to create a little bounce light, so the light's bouncing up, hitting the inner side here. I like the texture. This is not actually what I was going for, but happy little accident. So let's go back up to multiply, and I might make another multiply layer. That's what I will do. Come on, zoom in. Too much zoom in. Extreme close up. Actually, I want to hit the prism top here. Lower that down just a bit. There, now he's popping forward. I need to figure out what else to recede into the background. Definitely this building. We'll darken out this other outside area. But we'll need to have light coming from this direction that's going to catch underneath these the ledge here. There, now my eyes are all focusing on this character in the middle. And lastly, the only hard part about this is choosing the right wand, because it looks like I've already merged down. So more likely what's going to happen is I'm going to use my lasso or marquee tool. Let's quickly rough him in. Add a bit more light in. Oh, wait, on. I always remember what layer you're on. We're set to airbrush too, so that was an issue. All right. Reflection. And then screen. Come back to my color hold. Ghost. Oh, sweet. It's already selected. And we'll fill. Oh, it's a bit too dark or light. Let's try that again. Just a bit more. And I'll race away. This other side. This is a little too distracting. I'll probably have to do that too with the colors. All right. So all that's left now is do some color holds. Yeah, see right here, I start making that selection. I would have accidentally made a wrong selection. Yep, too light. And setting it, make it all nice and pretty. Try not to push everything into a color hold. Sometimes coloring is knowing when not to add something. So there's an issue I've got ready. I want to do color hold for this crack, but these are also lines here too. So what I'll do is I'll come in with my quick mask, zoom in, choose a brush. Probably could choose my pencil actually. I'm just gonna draw along that line. When it's done, it should be selected. I can paint it in. And I just get that colored. Looks like I missed an area. Some parts I'm just going to leave as is, but I do need to make a selection here. Oops, wrong thing. I'll try and merge that all together. So let's just coming in, grabbing everything here, deselecting this one down below. And invert. Choose this color here. So make sure I unselect everything else around it. The reason why I'm doing this is because I added a texture background to the original flat layer. Because when it was originally rendered, that's what I did instead of, at the time, making a separate layer. So that's a lesson right there. So because of that, we're now getting, I have to go and do it this way. So I've inverted, so I just wanted the selection. I'm going to lighten it. Get some gradient here, some light from below. I just have to set the radial. So he pops out just a bit more. There we go. And save. So that's my setup and process. Really did help. Helped again, Color by Kurt. Thanks again for that selection and how to get everything set up in Clip Studio. I had been using Clip for quite a long time prior to him, but I hadn't utilized it efficiently as before because I kept using the same methods you did in Photoshop. And by doing so, you're not utilizing the tools that are available to you, like the reference a layer. There are still some things I still follow process-wise, which is making a in this case, but usually making a duplicate of my flats layer. One thing I might do later on is come back in, make a separate layer, selecting from the flats, and having a solid color for the entire character. So what do I mean by that is, let's see if I can still choose Amia here. I'm going to make sure I choose all of Amia, everything inside. Coming down to my layer down below and just filling it with a solid color. Let's go and turn off the line art, and then we'll turn off these other layers down below. One thing I love about this is I can color to let me know that these are actually green for good to go. So I can turn them off, make sure, and remember which ones to turn on later. So here we have a solid color of Amia. And if I wanted to later on, I need to do something like I want to add a light around her. I can come down to this solid selector. I'll have to add those eyes. I thought I added them. Deselect the ones I don't want, which is like this one here. And then I could expand by 2. And now in a new layer, Let's make this like a add glow. If I wanted to use that red, I could fill it. Oh. I'll add some more information there, or let's see if I have to invert. Wait, no, invert. Okay, so that's not actually working the way I wanted to. What I was hoping to do is be able to add a layer of glow around her. Actually, that was probably actually it if I kept it the way it was. And if it wasn't set to glow, kept it normal. Come in here. Where's my brush size? There we go. A little red. Experiment with this one just a bit more. This sounds like a song straight out of Vampire Diaries. I just finished that entire 8-season story, and wow, that was a story. So on the areas I went over, I could sort of erase away these little areas where I went over into the All right, so I think I'm going to cut out there. I thank you all for joining me and watching. Remember to hit that like button. I plan on doing more videos like this in future, as well as creating a course on how to flat comics and comic pages and illustrations. People have been asking me how I've been able to do that for so long and quickly. One, I'm ADHD, so that really helps because then I can hyper focus. And the other part is because no two assignments are the same. You're always going to get a different page and illustration every day or every hour. And that really does help with, staying focused and getting it done. And other tips and tricks that I have up my sleeves that make me fast as well as accurate as possible. So I'll be doing that here soon, but stay tuned. Also stay tuned for the upcoming Kickstarter for the second issue of the Wayfarer. And it's going to be a doozy. It's part 2 out of 3. And third issue's already done. That one, I will also have to change some things. It's already fully colored, written, etc. It was made for print, but I did have a Webtoon version. But I'm going to go back in as well and bump up the intensity in some areas, as I've done here with the second issue. And then that will wrap up the first 3 issues. Issue 4 is already done as well. So stay tuned. It's going to be a back-to-back Kickstarters here. So once this first one is done, we'll start fulfilling on the digital PDFs. starting the second Kickstarter for the third issue, and then the fourth as well. And right now the fifth is being written by me, and it's a 5-issue arc, and it's going to be spectacular. We're going to introduce some new characters, some new type of mana and magic in this world, and you're going to love the characters. I'm really looking forward to this one. This also has a bit of a theme to it. And then after that, there's going to be toss-up issues. I'm probably going to look for writers just to do some filler issues, because after issue 10, it's just going to be bouncing around. I'm probably going to do a crossover with Krista Crawford and her characters in The Wolf and I. And by the 15th or 20th issue, then we're going to get into the meat of the story, hit that middle part, and quickly then put some more of the lore and wrap up the story for the Wayfarer. So thank you, everyone. This is Dutch. Remember to hit and like that subscribe button and notification. Please, if you can, support me on Patreon. The link is in the description. And I will also, again, put some links to Color by Kurt, who has been very helpful with this process, and has helped me feel comfortable using Clip Studio Paint, because before I felt it was really kind of like using Color Dodge all the time. It's either really to one extreme or to the other extreme, whereas Photoshop had that finesse, that delicacy to it. I've now learned, and still learning, how to apply more delicate touches to Clip Studio Paint. So this is Dutch. Again, you can follow me on my social medias, and my website, just a little info, is being updated. Their store is active, so you can still purchase a lot of material, but I am redesigning it right now to showcase more of my artwork and illustration. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Be safe out there, and remember to wash your hands, you filthy animals. Take care.